I won't keep you long. And I'm very grateful that you would stay. And as Steve said, this has actually been a day. We've focused a lot on healthcare all day. We've had a few intermittent stops for some communities along the way, as long as we were in West Tennessee. But that's been the focus. I thought maybe Steve did a great job of talking about background and personal stuff, so I'm going to leave that part out. But I do think it's important to talk about why I'm running for governor. And there's really 4 key reasons. And the last one is the one that I'd love to get some feedback from you all. So I'm going to talk about 3 or 4 minutes. I'm going to give you the abbreviated Cliff Notes version of why I'm running for governor. If I was giving a stump speech, this would be the 20% version of that. But in a word, people ask me all the time, what do you want to do as governor? And unfortunately, that's the wrong question. Right now, it's what are you going to have to do as governor? Because the first day you walk in the door, I think there's going to be 4 huge challenges facing whoever it is, Republican, Democrat. I hope it's me, but whoever it is, there's 4 big challenges that the next governor better be prepared to deal with day one. First one is critical financial situation for the state. In short, the state's budget's $29 billion, okay? This past year, we ended up $1.3 billion short. We balanced that with two methods. Number one, we took money out of our savings account. The state has a rainy day fund. We took money out of that. The second was with the federal stimulus money. And that's of particular interest to this group is, particularly with the TennCare shortage, a lot of money came out of the stimulus plan. So the issue for the next governor is both of those sources of funds are going to be gone when the new governor walks in. And you're really going to walk in with a $1 billion shortfall. I don't care who it is. And I can tell you right now, there's not going to be an income tax in the state of Tennessee. I'm not for it, but nobody running for governor is going to be for it. So, and we're not going to raise the sales tax because it's so high. I mean, you all are, people know, we go to Mississippi, Arkansas right now, so you can't do that. So you face a very critical shortfall day one. So we need to have a governor that's dealt with financial challenges like that before and haven't been in business for 23 years, making all the hard choices you make, and then haven't been a mayor. I think prepares you well. So you ought to say, well, all right, well, what have you done in that role? And as mayor, since we've been in office in Knoxville, while the national debt kind of spirals to who knows where, never land, I guess, our debt is 25% lower than when we came in. Our savings account, our rainy day fund is 300% more than when we came in. The city has the highest credit rating it's had in the history of the city. Our property tax is the lowest as of today that it's been in at least 40 years. We can't find the recorded history before that, so it's at least, I'm safe in saying 40, and I think it's pretty comfortable saying a lot more than that. And our budget is less in real dollars this year than it was last year and less than it was 2 years ago. I bring all that up because that's what the next governor is going to have to work through is difficult financial choices. Second, big challenge, jobs. State's unemployment is 11%. We were in several. The reality is that 11% is not spread evenly. In some of the most urban areas of the state and the most rural areas of the state, you see much larger unemployment. We were in Lauderdale County today. They were saying they were 18 or 19%. I was in Perry County last week, kind of in south mid-central Tennessee, 25% unemployment. Huge challenge. The next governor better be not just good, but great at bringing in jobs. And again, well, you say, well, why are you the right person? Since we've been in office, Knoxville's been ranked one of the top 10 cities in the country for the last 3 years for recruiting and retaining jobs. And I'm, as Steve mentioned, 50 years ago, my dad bought one closed gas station, and today that company has 15,000 employees. And the reason all that matters is I can tell people from personal experience why Tennessee is the right place to be. I can remember when I was young, my mother wrapping Christmas presents for every employee in the company. And obviously we can't do that anymore. But all along the way, there have been reasons why being in Tennessee was a fertile soil to grow your business, and nothing sells like personal testimony, and I think I can do that. The third big challenge is K-12 education. Long story short, public school education, we're 42nd out of the 50 states, okay? And it's impacting our job recruitment, it's impacting our health care, it's impacting our incarceration rates. Everything is tied back to K-12 education. And interesting statistic, we were talking to a woman who is the president of Dyersburg State Community College. Of our community college network, of the people that come to them out of Tennessee high school, 70% of them, 70, need remedial work. Okay, nothing speaks quite so loudly as that. So it's the state thing that we're kind of paying to educate some people twice, if you will, because of the efforts. But the big change in all that, and this is a longer discussion than we have time to go into, is you say, well, great, but what's going to change that? probably have heard other people come around running for governor who've talked about the same situation. Huge change hitting Tennessee next year. TCAP tests, all of our public school kids taking to measure average annual progress. Next, we set up our own. The federal government lets you set up your own standard for what is proficiency, okay? And Tennessee, unfortunately, set the bar really low. So low that last year, 90% of our kids tested out as proficient or better at their grade level. Next year, we're finally adopting the national standard, which Governor Haslam passed 100% the right thing to do. Next year, if our test results are like they were last year, 25% of our kids will test out as proficient or above a grade level. Now, that's sobering, and it's hard news, but it's actually good news that we're finally getting the reality out about here's where we are. So, I mean, the data's not good, but the fact that we're going to face up and have an accurate report card on ourselves is really good. So the next governor has a choice of either backing up and saying, oh, this has caused too much trouble, let's go back to the old way, or saying, no, the numbers are what the numbers are. Now, what are we going to do differently to reform education? Fourth big challenge is what I'd love to get some discussion here is health care. Of the state, state's $29.5 billion budget, $7.5 billion, right at 25% is TennCare. If the national health care plan they're talking about passes, that could add as much as another $1 billion in cost to the state. We pay a third of the cost, the feds pay 2/3. If they expand coverage, logic follows. If you do the math, it's going to cost us somewhere from $700 million to $1 billion extra. We're already $1 billion in the hole. I don't know what we do if that happens. Governor Bredesen has called that the mother of all unfunded mandates, and it's being proposed by his party. So it kind of shows you how serious it is at the state level if that passes. Anyway, from my standpoint, TennCare is a big part of health care, a big part of what you do as governor. You're basically, as governor, your key places where you're spending money and time are health care and education, K-12 and higher ed. All the other budget items are, all the other things you do, highways, corrections, et cetera, all fit in there, but those are the two big items. So I would love to hear some feedback from this room, people who've been in the healthcare business in one form or another for a while, in terms of insight that if you were in my shoes, here's the sort of things that I would be thinking, that you would be thinking about if you were making this point in time. So